All right. Hi there. My name is Zach Boyle, and I'll be presenting to you about a few takeaways and lessons that I've learned from my MDE project this semester. So to start, the project is a calendar slash task planning app similar to Google Calendar, and it's a desktop app where you can create, edit, delete, and get events suggested to you for doing things such as chores, homework, and things like that. The app uses Electron to as a framework for the desktop application, and React as a front end. Additionally, we have implemented a Google Calendar integration so that you can kind of import those events and plan around those. So probably the biggest lesson that I learned through this project was to plan ahead and how important it is to do this. And we attempted to do this by making our project structure as clean as possible and really eliminating any sort of unnecessary files that crept in because they just worked and we might not, have known how or why they worked. But still, there were kind of a lot of things that were there that didn't need to be. So, for example, we chose on the bottom left here, this picture is a picture of the React Awesome Calendar component, which is an NPM module. And basically, this gave us the quickest and easiest way to get a calendar view working for the app. And with the project that we used to kind of start us off as a foundation so that we didn't have to write everything from scratch, it worked quite well. But further down the line, when we wanted to make kind of more precise modifications to our project, we realized that the inability to modify this component resulted in problems for testing and for UI front-end viewing. And that's because React normally has this kind of relationship, as you can see on the left, where parents pass things to the children and then children pass things back. But because we were using this child component that was unmodifiable, we couldn't really get information back from it. So it was difficult to, and we ran into problems because of this choice. Additionally, on the right here, we have the NPM and Yarn package managers. So both of these actually are in utilization in this project, which if you've done a web project before, you'll know that that's bad practice. You just want to have one package manager. And this is, again, a result of us not planning ahead enough and realizing that our foundation was in Yarn and we probably should have tried to stick to that. We ran into a couple of issues, modules not having a correct dependency tree and not being able to be imported because we didn't use just one single package manager. The second lesson is also a big one, writing tests before we start development. This kind of goes back to the planning ahead lesson, but we found that we wrote tests after we had already had kind of a minimum viable product working. And we realized it was difficult to just simply integrate a testing framework and to get even empty tests working with different things that were in our components. For example, just getting React components to be able to be included in these tests, image files, style sheet files. There were all sorts of issues with our configuration for our test framework. And then even once we got the test framework working, on the right side you can see this is a test we have, and it's pretty redundant. It basically just checks if our initial kind of entire app component is able to be rendered or not. And this kind of test is an exemplification of our inability to to unit test our code because not writing tests early kind of allowed us to get away with a very entangled components and how they interact. And we didn't do a good job of separating concerns. So that made it really difficult for us to write tests further down the line, and it caused a lot of work that needed to be done to go back and refactor that code. Lastly, Timelines in our project have kind of consistently kept passing. And on the left here is a picture of our initial Gantt chart, our initial project plan for when we would have things done, and the timeline of that we would have to work on certain things. And as you can see, right now it's April 6th, and so we're right at the end of that blue mark there, which is the end of system integration time. But as you can see on the right side here, this is a picture of our current Kanban board for our repository, and we only have 1 out of 8 tasks completed. 2 are in progress, but still not very good to have 3 out of 8 tasks done or in progress, nearing the end of system completion time. So it's kind of inevitable with software tasks. We've had so many meetings where we just think we're going to get a simple thing done, but we end up spending the vast majority of the time figuring out something that we are unfamiliar with, or that might not even be that large of a bug. So I think it all kind of goes back to planning ahead, but testing and being aware of kind of timelines kind of slipping by are very important lessons to learn from my MDD.